American families are struggling to get by, relying on food banks and rent forbearance. American young folks are saddled with enormous student loans, unable to find work in their fields, and stuck living in their parents' basements. American old folks are hunkered in their homes, afraid to even bring in the mail due to the pandemic. Everyone's on the brink of utter despair and needs the government to help them. With unemployment hovering around 8% and growing, and 200,000 businesses never to reopen, along with the soon ending of the mortgage and eviction moratorium. The piper must be paid. And now, with vaccines that will give confidence to sellers to list their properties, the housing market will go from no inventory to oversupply, and I think we all know what that will do. If our interest rates were raised to the traditional levels, if homeowners could only deduct the interests on their primary residence's mortgage payments, and if sellers would be taxed 40% on their gain if they lived in the houses for less than 18 months, there would be an oversupply of housing. A lot of landlords are getting screwed over. When the forbearance is over, a flood of inventory will hit the market. Commercial real estate is dead all over America. Totally dead. Urban office space is going to be empty forever, and suburban space not far behind it. Work from home is here to stay. The high property tax states are killing off residents, forcing them out of the homes in which they've lived for generations. San Francisco is now struggling with a mass exodus of tech workers due to the pandemic, with city leaders warning that this will have a severe economic impact. And no amount of stimulus, vaccines, and/or bailouts are going to change it. Leasing activity has been declining since mid-2019, with Q4 2019 hitting a multi-year low already. So this was something that had been brewing for a while, and the pandemic just put it into hyperdrive. The real crisis will start when the government stops paying out unemployment, and all of those jobs are not coming back anytime soon. Trillions of bailout money were sent out, and the government is virtually insolvent now. This was after the national debt bomb that was ready to explode. They are never coming back, and it is all by design. They intend to destroy what's left through massive lockdowns, killer vaccines, food shortages, civic unrest, and more, and it's being done globally. The finance sector was restructuring at the beginning of 2019, and further cuts were announced at the start of 2020 before COVID was even a blip on the horizon. People think we're going to bounce back. Well, a bounce indicates a dip first, and we haven't actually dipped yet. I really feel for the people on the wrong side of this K-shaped recovery. If the government wants to do something, they need to focus on reskilling our workforce, free education, not paying to keep people in redundant industries just so they can in turn prop up investor portfolios. Let capitalism run its course. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to also hit the notification bell. Wages are stagnant, and it's tough for many to even think of buying a home. They can't qualify for a loan. 40% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. How many you think can afford to buy a home? Homeownership is less affordable now than even during the housing credit crisis. The economy sucks for 90% of Americans. Only the top 10% have been making gains for about 30 years. There is a growing housing affordability crisis that is making it increasingly difficult for millions of middle-class households to buy a home or afford their rent. The job market hasn't changed much in the past 5 years. Wages still too low. The stock market is detached from reality. This is a bubble. No doubt the housing market is in one gigantic bubble. People bought high and now are trying to sell. They are losing money. Bringing checks to closing. Auto loans are in trouble. Defaults are way up. We are sitting on a bubble that will explode shortly. And seeing the Fed injecting billions into the repo market, it is clear something is happening. This something is global, and I expect home prices to drop significantly over the next few years. We are witnessing the Wall Streetization of everything. Silicon Valley is now run by Wall Street, not consumer demand. Because Wall Street provides the cash. Wall Street now also owns the housing market. Welcome your new overlord, peasants. The central bank and its counterfeit money are destroying America and the world. The fake money cartel loves it. It's like pennies from heaven, and homeowners who are mortgaged out are about to get shafted real hard. The wealthy investors can't swoop in because they'll find the poverty index isn't going to improve from here. Which means you can't buy a good deal in a deteriorating serfdom society where you can't find a neighborhood that isn't overrun with immigrants, crime, drug dealers, and gangs. Virtually everyone believes the false narrative that the American dream is owning a home. What most Americans own is a burdensome mortgage, which in turn makes them a slave to the lender. Even when our homes are debt-free, the government owns the first lien via property taxes. Quit paying your property taxes, and you're going to find out real quick who it is that really owns your home. In spite of what the banking and real estate industry says, the true American dream is based entirely upon freedom and liberty and is not dependent upon the ownership of a material good. Homeownership is overrated. You don't really own your home anyway. Stop paying taxes, and you'll see who owns it. Get the right RV with a shower. Inboxes and mail them to the IRS. In the US, housing prices are grossly inflated and falling fast. Housing prices are cratering during a time when home mortgage interest rates remain at historic lows. What happens to prices once interest rates are, for a variety of market-driven reasons, forced higher? If upcoming generations expect to live on the $15 per hour, would you really expect them to buy the overpriced house? How many boomers are leaving the nest for a smaller nest or checking out? Expecting to cash out, but where are the buyers for this overpriced home? There are no move-up buyers for the boomer McMansions. The only buyers in that price range are basically boomers selling to other boomers, swapping, like-for-like assets. There is a feeding frenzy for entry-level homes, but since there are no new entry-level houses, entry-level buyers are buying houses that need a lot of repairs because they don't know any better. These entry-level buyers are just one HVAC or roof replacement away from foreclosure. A generation of parasites living off borrowed money and credit come looking for a bailout with a tear in their eyes. Bring back debtor's prison and hit every default with the IRS income tax for unjust enrichment. Lenders aren't your mommy and daddy. And if you borrowed from the mob, they will collect as beneficiaries on your insurance policy. Right before the last bust, the banks said if you are breathing, we will loan you as much as you want. Too many people go too far in debt. The government makes money on every house that is built or sold. Huge property taxes add to the burden. Sales taxes on all items in a house. Environmental laws about cutting timber and many costs put on wages. From painting to landscaping, then huge gas taxes and fees on trucking, and the building departments are anti-contractors. And then the government says we can't understand why houses cost so much. California will be the first state to go down. Developers, realtors, and landlords will never ever listen until it all comes tumbling down around their ears. Harry Dent says we have one last blow-off coming before the sale of the century. But it's going to be interesting getting there. Remember, there are a lot of robo-traders out there programmed to buy the dip, and we have the plunge protection team and the Fed. The market has to blow out all those stops and still keep going down in order for the sale of the century to get here. The warning signs are everywhere. Foreclosures are ticking up, bankruptcies slowly increasing, subprime auto about to go critical, add in credit card debt, government overspending causing property taxes to rise, and banksters going nuts. Then you have the formula for beautiful sweet 30% correction at a minimum in prices in the hot markets, and in some cases 50%. All real estate markets have their own cycles and are clearly visible from which segment of the market is rising or falling. For instance, the last to rise is the condo market. When those prices go up, the cycle is over and is set to fall. Once you understand the primary cycles, you will understand the perfect time to purchase a home, a townhouse, or a condo. Then you might be able to make some money from the place you live in as a cute and great day. But if all you own is a home, that is your place to live, then the best thing to do is to pay off the mortgage as fast as possible. The freedom that comes from owning a place to live with no mortgage is fantastic. Also, I need to remind people that property tax never really ends. I paid off the mortgage in my current home 5 years after I purchased it. And guess what? In 15 years since purchase, the property tax has cost me more than the purchase price. It is a myth that one ever owns real estate. Instead, you just borrow it from the local taxing authority as long as you are willing to pay the taxes. Having no mortgage tells you nothing about the cost of owning real estate. Don't purchase any real estate until you have carefully evaluated the cost of taxes. In many communities, it is the taxes that will absolutely kill you. There is very little private property in this nation. The government owns it all, and we just pay rent on it. This in itself should be unconstitutional. A home is a place you live in, not a trading vehicle. Every Ponzi scheme has a climax. The Fed has run one for 100 years. Q1, 2, 3, 4 were efforts to procrastinate the inevitable. The ultimate trigger, recognition, is yet to come. Folks, it's straightforward, housing has run its course crashing. The bubble has already burst. Look around at retail spaces. Everything is either closing or is empty of commerce and trying not to close. Plenty of vacant commercial real estate. The one you wouldn't expect is doctors' offices, with nobody in the waiting rooms. Prices are unaffordable. Many landlords keep on raising prices on small businesses and restaurants, even if their properties are half empty. Most move and the landlord raises the rent on the few remaining until the whole building is vacant. If this was a business based on cash flow, it wouldn't be happening. It's a game of musical chairs, and the music is about to stop. The real world has been trying to tell us real estate is not a permanent store of wealth. The fictitious financial wealth in real estate disappears. Another real estate bust is due. Come on. You know how it works. They re-inflated the housing bubble with a historic, 10 years run of low interest rates. Now that home prices have again reached into the clouds, and the bust is primed to pop back. This time the Fed will not be able to prop it back up like they did last time by purchasing billions per month in mortgage-backed securities. Without the Fed's intervention in 2007, virtually the entire real estate market would have collapsed, which would have in turn destroyed the US economy. Sooner or later, this fake economy that is built on debt and derivatives is going to have its day of reckoning. When it does, it is going to make the Great Depression look like a party. 2007 was the most significant land grab, wealth transfer in the history of the US. But there will be bigger ones. The pension 401k grab is going to be epic. There are other scams as well, notably healthcare and even reverse mortgages. Falling for things like timeshare scams is so the last generation. Driving the price of housing out of reach of the young and working class is criminal. Houses are shelter, not speculative investments. I do not say this lightly, but I am beginning to believe that nothing will change until these central bankers are punished. What they are doing is despicable, and they show absolutely no signs of abating. They're flaunting their reverse Robin Hood policies. One wonders what will happen if the hordes of folks trapped as renters get together on Reddit and organize a mass rent strike. By the time they start cranking through evictions, a lot of leveraged landlords will get taken down on cash flow. I really think the whole Robinhood fiasco has changed things in ways we don't quite understand yet. There is a lot of anger at the injustice in the property market, and it probably just needs a spark to manifest itself. This was the Atlantis Report. Please like, share, leave me a comment, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels. I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have already donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.